just slowly started rebuilding, and and that's where we are now. We're now in Denver, and we rebuilt, got back into real estate, done pretty well for myself and our family. And my wife also built a great business, and she's doing well with it as well. And yeah, just a lot of great lessons that you learn along the way from that, which I'm more than happy to talk about.
And we will. But I gotta tell you, Luis, I love the humility in which you tell your story. Right? You went through something that was extremely difficult, challenging, and you're like, yeah, I just did it. Yeah, we just got through and moving on. Like I totally love that because that just shows you and speaks to like, so perspective is a wonderful thing, right? And so in the middle of something or facing something, it's hard, it's challenging, it's difficult. I don't doubt any second that you were concerned, you had sleepless nights, you
Oh
had
yeah.
all sorts of things going on for you. But to hear you tell a story like, yeah, we went through this and it was over, like I think it's fabulous. So congratulations on doing that, because that's a big deal.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm not one to like dwell on the negativity of stuff too much, especially anymore. Maybe at that point, there was a really dark time in my life where I,
Sure.
I focused on it too much. But yeah, I mean, I think you can't, yeah, life goes gives you, all kinds of bumps and bruises, and you just got to get through it, right? I mean,
Right.
that's just it. You can't dwell on it forever. Learn and
Right.
move on,
Right.
right?
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help you live your best audacious life ever. Your presence here is truly valued and appreciated, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share this journey with all of you. Now, in life, facing challenging experiences like running a marathon, it may be tough, but ultimately, it leads to personal growth and success. Just as running taught Louis Hernandez discipline, perseverance, and goal setting, we can too learn from obstacles and embrace positivity, gratitude, and community support to overcome them. Now, Luis is a resilient entrepreneur who overcame hardships in business and personal life by applying valuable lessons learned through running, as well as embracing a positive mindset. His story is one of perseverance, growth, and success against all odds. And for this episode, interviewing Luis provides a first-hand account of how running and positive habits have transformed his life, making him an embodiment of audacious living principles in action. So now that you're set, let's turn to our chat with Luis. Enjoy. Hey, Luis, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate making the time to do this, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Audley. I'm really happy to be here.
Uh, and yeah, it's great. I mean, I oftentimes talk about how wonderful it is to engage in dialogues or conversations that can help people get to a better place. And I think one of the things that certainly assists with that is the sharing of our stories. Right, we all have stories and experiences and things that we go through, and sometimes it's just a matter of letting someone else know, hey, I've gone through this, and this is how I did it, and here's how you can do it as well. Because we're all going to face adversity, we're all going to face challenges. They're going to come at us, and we've got, life doesn't stop; it has to continue. And so, I think the assistance from others is tremendous in helping us continue on our pathway. You have your experiences, which I'm very happy that you're here to share that with us. So maybe as a starting point, you can introduce yourself to our audience and let them know a little bit about yourself and the journey that's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, thank you for that, Audley. I was born, well, in New England, in Providence, Rhode Island, so a
Hmm.
little closer to you out there in Toronto there. And I kind of grew up living throughout the Northeast coast. A lot of my childhood was in Queens, New York, and my parents immigrated here from Colombia, South America.
Hmm.
And we grew up, without much. We usually rented a room within an apartment, with other families there. the classic immigrant lifestyle. They come here, just work hard. My parents worked in factories and cleaning jobs and such, and to try and provide a better life for us. And we luckily, I was able to, graduate high school and go to college and create a better life for myself. And I got into real estate and did really, really well in my early to mid 20s. And then we had something happen in 2008 that kind of affected real estate really bad. And at that time, I had a one and a 3-year old.
Mm,
And, we got hit with the great financial crisis and everything I had was in real estate. At the time, we lived in Baltimore, Maryland, and and it caused us to pretty much go through all of our savings and the business had to kind of fold that down and we lost our home and everything. And again, with a 1 and a 3-year old as a father, provider for the family,
yeah.
that's really you feel like a failure at that time. And we ended up starting all over in Denver, Colorado. My wife and I both got jobs out here. Actually, we were outside of Boulder, Colorado at the time, and
Hmm.
and uh, just slowly started rebuilding, and that's where we are now. We're now in Denver, and we rebuilt, got back into real estate, done pretty well for myself and in our family, and my wife also built a great business, and she's doing well with it as well. And yeah, just a lot of great lessons that you learn along the way from that, which I'm more than happy to talk about.
And we will, but I gotta tell you, Luis, I love the humility in which you tell your story, right? You went through something that was extremely difficult, challenging, and you're like, yeah, I just did it. Yeah, we just got through and moving on. Like I totally love that because that just shows you and speaks to like, so perspective is a wonderful thing, right? And so in the middle of something or facing something, it's hard, it's challenging, it's difficult. I don't doubt any second that you were concerned, you had sleepless nights, you
Oh
had
yeah.
all sorts of things going on for you. But to hear you tell a story like, yeah, we went through this and it was over, like I think it's fabulous. So congratulations on doing that, because that's a big deal.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm not one to like dwell on the negativity of stuff too much, especially anymore. Maybe at that point, there was a really dark time in my life where I,
Sure.
I focused on it too much. But yeah, I mean, I think you can't, yeah, life goes gives you, all kinds of bumps and bruises, and you just got to get through it, right? I mean,
Right.
that's just it. You can't dwell on it forever. Learn and
Right.
move on,
Right.
right? Yeah,
And I think that's a really fabulous perspective in terms of how you deal with this stuff, right? Because they're gonna come. Let's be clear here, like, guys, we're gonna run into stuff, and it's gonna happen, and it's gonna suck in the moment, and it's gonna be hard,
that's
and
right.
you're going to have that moment where it's like, what do I do? Um, it's funny, literally, on a sort of much smaller scale. It's much of this example I'm about to give you the illustration, but literally like 2 days ago, um, I was looking for because as I was trying to enter this building, it was a pass card that I needed, and I remember I had it, and I reached in my pocket to get it, and it wasn't there, and I literally felt myself like panic and go, "Oh my gosh!" Literally, like, "Oh my gosh!" And I said, "No, no, 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 stop, just stop." And I stopped for a moment, just a quick second, and I was able to find it. And again, much smaller illustration, but I do think there's some correlations in taking that moment to pause and gather your thoughts and collect sort of your and calm yourself down and all that too, right? To be
Yeah.
able to work through your problem. I wonder if you sort of talk about how, well, first of all, is that something that you incorporated and how you pause and how you gather your thoughts and what you did to calm yourself down?
Yeah, I think that's right. We have a lot of small like sudden circumstances that cause us to panic at times,
Mhm.
right? We get, like you mentioned, a card missing, things like that happen all the time, right? We get into a car accident, things like that, and it causes panic in the moment, right? And that's a natural reaction, and the faster we learn to recover from it, the faster we learn how to take a punch and punch back, then the better off we're going to be, right? um but that's harder when it's a sudden um issue like that. Now, when it's in my case, it was more of a buildup to like a big, now I look back upon it and it was kind of a big catastrophe, right? But it didn't happen all at once. It wasn't like all of a sudden, like boom, everything it just started spiraling and spiraling, right? And little by little, and I wasn't helping. I was doing things that weren't helping the matter, and I wasn't recognizing what was going on around me and all that. And some of the things just kept getting worse, maybe because of my actions and my reactions. So once you're in the in once you can get away from that and learn to look back at it as almost like another person going through it,
Right.
then you can start to analyze it and start to figure out, okay, what went wrong and how do I
So you mean
prevent that from
like
happening.
remove yourself from the situation, kind of? Is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly, exactly. But at that time, it was more like, just survival, right? Like, okay,
Right.
how do I, feed my family today? How do I find another home? What do we do? A job, all that stuff, just one step at a time, right? Like, what do I have to do today to survive? But then once you have all of that and you're
Hmm.
surviving again, then you can start to analyze, okay, what actually happened here? And how do we prevent that from happening again? And how do we thrive? That kind of stuff. So that's kind of what I dedicated myself to over the next maybe 10 years. I went back to school, I got an MBA. So I started to learn business. A lot of what I did in my early 20s, it was just sheer hustle, sheer luck, right? I arrived in Baltimore and I for a job, and I got lost, and I found myself in neighborhoods where I saw blocks that were boarded up, blocks upon blocks of
Right.
just boarded up buildings.
Right.
And I saw that as opportunity. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is great. I can buy these things and look at the price tags, and
Right.
because I had such limiting beliefs around money. And I thought, okay, I can do all this, and I didn't understand what that all meant. So later on, and everything I did worked, right? Everything I did just made money. And part of it was
Yeah.
there was a rising tide. They say a rising tide lifts all boats. I didn't
Yes.
understand that.
Right.
After a few times of making mistakes and still making good money on it, I start to tell, my ego starts to take off. And I
Sure.
start to realize, hey, I'm a genius, right? I can't go
Yes.
wrong. Everything I do turns to gold.
Gold.
So
Yeah.
so it wasn't until I needed to go through all this stuff so I could realize, okay, even when there is a rising tide, I need to recognize that, and I need to, still be cautious and have, analyze things well, where I buy, how I do things, what is the right exit strategies, all that basic learning of business, risk mitigation, all that kind of stuff that a lot of great business people do. And that's kind of why I went back to school.
Yeah.
Also went back to school to study business cycles, how
Oh, okay.
market cycles, why things were going up for so long and at
Hmm.
the rates they were and all that. So I can recognize the trends and be prepared for them in the future and realize it isn't just me. And okay, if we're in a upward trend, then maybe
Yep.
I can take a little more risk. If we're
Right.
not,
Right.
then back up. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. So, and then most importantly, those are all kind of technical learnings, right? You
Yes.
can open a
Yes.
book and learn all that.
Yep. Yep.
The more important stuff was all of the soft, like executive functioning type of skills, like discipline, like good
Mm.
you know learning how to like treat others and just the good values that you should have as a human being, right? And that
So,
was a bigger journey.
so would you say those things weren't present for you prior, or you had to learn them, or did you build on what you already had?
I think I was not I was always, I think I was raised with good values and morals from my family, but I
Hmm.
I think there were certain things that I wasn't a very disciplined person. I could outwork and out hustle most people in the moment, and that made me excel. And I was fairly smart, at school and book smart and all that, and that helped
Yeah.
me succeed to a point. But I wasn't, yeah, I think things like time management weren't very good, stress management, discipline, um, some of those, teamwork. So a lot of those things weren't natural to me. Um, so yeah, I think I started to work on a lot of that, and a lot of those skills came to me through running. I got into long distance running in
Okay.
2010.
Okay.
and had a goal of running a marathon. And that
So this
started
would
the
have been right. This
journey.
would have been right after, right?
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
how do you? I mean, again, you're in the midst of what you're dealing with, and then you decide to pick up running. What was the thought on that at
Yeah.
the
I
time?
think running kind of helped to become a coping mechanism
Okay.
initially. Right. So I was going to visit my family in Rhode Island from Baltimore. On the way back, I drove through New York City, and in Queens, had a good friend from college and hadn't seen him in like 5 years and went to visit him. And he's like, "Hey, what are you up to? We're catching up on what we're up to." And he's telling me he's running a marathon. And he's that guy who's like very non-athletic, very clumsy, all that. I'm like, come on, man, you of all people, like, like just joke. And
Yeah.
he's a great friend, but he would even say that, and yeah, and I was shocked. And he's telling me how he's doing it, and I mean, this was one of my best drinking friends in
Sure.
college. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And and he gives me this book called The Non-Runner's Marathon Training, and I start reading the book, and it's actually a college course where these students take a class to run a marathon, and the final exam is actually running one at the
Right.
end. And it takes you through almost like a journal where every week it has the training plan, it has the what the students are feeling and doing. So I started following that, and ironically, everything I felt every week was exactly what the students were saying too. So I kind of felt like they were my crew. I was training with them, as I went, which was really neat. But anyways,
Nice.
that started the journey, and I moved to Colorado after that.
Hmm.
We got work out here, and I started joining like run clubs and to
Wow.
meet people, and then I started to, as I got to know the people, I just was like fascinated by how incredible they were, and just as human beings, right? They were just great leaders in the community, great business people, great in their careers. They were great parents, great spouses, just another level of great people that I wasn't exposed to before. And just hanging around with
Wow.
them made me a better human being.
Wow.
It made
Wow.
me a better
Wow.
father, husband, business person, all that. And so I've always been very grateful to that community, and it made me recognize how important community was, right? I think I
Very,
always recognized it,
yeah. Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
was different,
Yeah.
right? Like when
Yeah.
you're growing up, especially like you're growing up in the hood like I did, and everybody's like children of immigrant, we're just, we're just trying to survive, just thinking about
Right.
how do we make money, and
Sure.
yeah, where we're going to go party and all this stuff.
Yep.
It was a different kind of community, and it
Right.
served us well then, but it didn't serve me at this point in my life.
Sure.
And now the running community serves me really well.
I love
You
it. I
know,
love it. It's funny.
you
I've
know?
got a friend of mine who is going through some challenging periods, going through a difficult time, and we talked a lot about what we now dub the term healthy preoccupations. Like,
Yeah,
what is a healthy preoccupation that you can take on, that you can do, and so for him, he goes to the gym and he works out,
yeah,
right? And it's probably been about a year, and he's in great shape. He's
yeah.
massive, he's huge, but it's healthy,
I
and
bet.
he credits the gym for being a big part of that, preoccupying his mind in a healthy way.
Yeah,
For you, it was running, but and so I give that illustration because it so easily and simply can be, a unhealthy preoccupation that you take on that takes you further down a darker path. And so the idea is we have to be very, very mindful of what we do, because I think in those states we're a bit vulnerable, right? And
yeah.
and I think that's when our state of mind and our resilience has to be that much stronger.
That's right. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And who you surround yourself with is really
Mm,
matters in those states, right? Because you are so vulnerable. And if you're surrounding yourself with people who are just hanging out at the bar every night, which I did, then you're going to be hanging around at the bar every night. You're going to be
right,
spending
right.
money on getting unhealthy, maybe making unhealthy decisions. I mean, I was very lucky that nothing really ever happened to me, but I mean, I can't tell you how many people, were in accidents when drinking and driving, going home those nights, or,
Hmm.
they were arrested for DWIs. And I mean, it was just not good decisions that
Right.
you end up making when that's your lifestyle. So, and
Yeah.
now my running community, we get up, we meet at 5 in the morning every day, and 3 days a week we meet. This morning I went, and we went and we ran a few miles together and we chatted about, what we got going on in our day and our families, all that stuff. We share, we help each other out, like support each other. And that's really, really positive. And to get up at 5 to go run at 5 in the morning because you don't
Yep.
want to not support, be not, we don't want to let each other down. That means that you're not going to be out drinking late at night,
That's right.
with other people, and you're not going to be out up like eating bonbons and watching TV till midnight, and
Right.
you're going to be
Right.
doing healthy things, going to bed earlier, eating well, all that, so you can do that, so you can support your community, you know.
What did running teach you, or what has it taught you?
Oh man, so much. I got a list. I'm actually working on a project that may or may not turn into a book, and I'm calling it Running Away to Find My Way. And it's kind of a
Wow.
play on running as well as, my podcast. But the some of the lists I have here, obviously discipline.
Mm,
My running journey has taught me more along the way as I set goals for within running to and one of them was discipline. Get out, run every day, right, kind of thing. So that'll help you improve. And that one just so you know, I did by at first just starting to run, make sure I ran at least 1 mile every day.
okay.
And once you start running, that's not a big deal, right? Almost all of us can do it. Run, walk, whatever, a mile every day. And if you do that every day for a while, you build discipline. It becomes a habit to you. So that was something I did for a long time, and it helped me progress. Goal setting,
Okay.
how to my first big goal was to qualify for Boston by 2020. I set that in 2014. At that
Hmm.
time, I needed to chop over an hour off of my marathon time to be able to do that.
Wow.
And now I've done it. Now I have a big buffer. I just registered for the 2025 marathon, Boston Marathon, so I'll
Wow.
be doing that again. Perseverance, when you go out and you have to run a long run, 20 miles or whatever, just like you need to push through. I mean, there's nothing really fun about running a marathon.
Right. Right.
Right? I mean, it's painful every time, and you got to learn to persevere and push through and embrace that pain and
Hmm.
somehow learn to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Time management, stress management, self motivation, adaptability, focus and concentration is a big one. Mindfulness, problem solving, teamwork. People
Mm,
think running is a solo sport, but it's really not. It's a team sport. You go out. Everybody in our run groups, we all have our own personal goals, but we all support each other as a team. And how do we do that? We go and we meet each other to go on runs together. We
right.
go and we look out for, products that we might need for each other. We're always there for each other. It is a team sport. And I can tell you, and I know a lot of my teammates will say the same, is when we have our races, and we all have different races and we have
Hmm.
different goals for our races.
Yep.
um, we all feel we're following each other on the app at the race. Actually, I know you're in Toronto. Toronto Marathon is a pretty popular one for a lot of
Yep.
my teammates. We we're following each other there on the app, and we're like, we can feel, we can tell, all right, oh shoot, they hit the wall at mile 18 there, so come on, push through. We're like, providing
Wow.
that energetic support. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you see,
That's,
when when they cross the
what,
finish line.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that goes back to the power of community, like you said, right? Community can do all
yeah,
sorts of wonderful things for you, and support is one of them.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Health. It's funny, I was just talking to somebody the other day about she's amazing. She went through she had multiple sclerosis and is a European bodybuilding champion or
Okay.
weightlifting champion.
Okay.
And she got into it because she loves weightlifting. And now she's all about health and all this stuff. And I'm the same way. I love running and I'm all about health now and all that. But I don't actually run to be healthy. I'm healthy because I run.
Mm,
It's a
the
weird
other way
twist. Like you
around.
said,
Yeah.
your friend at the gym,
Yeah.
I don't know. If it helps him so much, I bet you he's healthy because he just loves going to the gym.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. Like I talk to a lot of people who that's the case, whereas the people who just do it because they want to lose weight or, are healthy, I find that they have a harder time maintaining for a long time. You know what I mean? You have to actually really enjoy it and want to get better at it,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
build community around it and all that. Um, self-awareness, humility,
Wow.
um, confidence, patience. These are all other things I learned through running. I didn't learn through
Luis, I don't know
school.
how this doesn't turn into a book. Come on. There's some great stuff that you got there.
Yeah, thank you. That's what everybody keeps telling me. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're well on your way. That sounds fine.
Yeah.
And all those things are applicable because if you take those your top three, take your top three of them. Like what are the things of your list there? What three stand out to you? What your top three? What are they?
Oh man, I'd say definitely discipline, goal setting, um, probably perseverance.
So those three right there, those are business goals for a lot of people. Those are business,
100%.
right? You take those and give them to the top CEOs of the world, the top companies in the world, and they would embrace them. And if you would ask them how important those are to their overall business, they will tell you, "Yeah, man, these are critical to our success." And so, I mean, I think that just shows the applicability of we're talking about running, but the impacts are far greater in other spheres or other circles.
100%. I completely agree. And I think that's why I am a much better person now. And I am more sustainably successful now than I was, back in the early 2000s, because of these skills. The rest you can learn in school or, you don't even need to go to school anymore, right? We have access to all the education in the world for free now, And so we don't really even need that. But
Yeah.
these soft skills we need to be successful. And you can't really learn them by just watching a video, You have to do it. You have to practice them.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is another piece that we haven't touched on that I think is equally as important, if not the most important. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. And that's the power of positivity, particularly during these challenging and difficult times. What are things that people can do to help maintain that? Or and again, things are tough. You're feeling like a failure, right? Like you're feeling that this was it. You're a father trying to provide for your family and your kids. You can't do that. If you went on this negative binge and that's all, people would totally get it and understand. But that only takes you so far.
That's right.
How do you turn that around?
Yeah, thank you for that. I did have positivity on here too. It's super important. I think there's a couple of things. First of all, and I was a really negative person, by the way. I know people don't believe that because I am always positive now.
Sure you
But
are.
like somebody once told me, there's no solution you can't find a problem to.
Love it. Love it.
Which is, but I think that there's two major things. One is being intentional about positive, like whatever
Mm,
problem it is, right away, look for what is the positive in that. Just if you have a problem with something, what is the solution to it? You know what I mean? Just even one. I had a coach that just told me, whatever you find something negative to, just find one. Try to find one thing positive to, and that's hard when you're really
yes.
in it. That's really hard. But you can find positivity in anything. And then the
Right.
other one I think is gratitude.
Okay.
Practicing gratitude, just what rewires your brain to just naturally be positive. And again, that can be really hard when you're in a dark spot,
Yes.
but just if you can just for any little thing, like, you've seen me drinking my water this morning, just to be grateful to have water, clean water that I can just put out of my sink, you know, pour out of my kitchen faucet and into this bottle and drink it and know I'm not going to get sick. There's a lot of
Right.
people in the world that can't do that, you know,
Hmm.
and, if you just start to become grateful for anything, especially the little things that we take for granted, that will naturally rewire your brain to be a positive person.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I think certainly that is a great lesson. I want to sort of jump a little bit back, and if you can give me an indication from the time that things were really low for you, right, and you're feeling like a failure and all these sorts of things, to the time that you recognize a business opportunity and took advantage of that. How long did it take you to bounce back?
Oh man, it was a work. I think I'm still bouncing back, to be honest with you. I still think of myself there. It was a long time. I think initially I had to go and get a job.
Okay.
And while I was in the job at first, I was so grateful because I just remember like it was a very low paying job compared to what I was used to making for a while. But I just remember thinking like, oh wow, I can get sick and I'll still get paid. You know, I remember I'm thinking like, oh wow, all I have to do is show up and I get paid. You know, whereas when you run your business, oftentimes you have to show up, work hard, and you still might not get paid. You
Mhm.
know, and you oftentimes you can't get sick. You can't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those kind of things. And then came, you know, the education. I went and, like I said, got my MBA and thinking I was just going to get a big corporate job. And I did get a corporate job. Wasn't terribly big, but I worked my way up some. And I just realized that, you know, there was something inside of me that still needed to just get back out there and build a
Hmm.
business again. And that happened around 2018. They cut my position at the corporate job and they offered me a bigger job opportunity actually, but I would have had to move. And we were starting to just love Colorado and we didn't want to
Right.
move anymore. So my wife's like, hey, you know, that for the first time in my life, I had a severance offered to me. I was like, hey, you know, she's like, we can survive for a little while with it. Why don't you just get back into real estate? And that's what I did. And I actually didn't make a penny for like 8 months.
Yeah.
Um, and that was hard. It was really,
Yes.
really hard. And then all of a sudden, it just started clicking. I started getting clients, things just started closing, and everything started changing really fast. So at first it was like, why am I doing this? 8 months, I'm not making anything. This is crazy. And I don't know what kept me hanging on. But I did. I just faith that I was doing all the right things.
Right.
I knew I was doing the right processes. I knew all of that, but it just things weren't converting yet, and that still happens all
Sure.
the time, actually. And then all of a sudden, it can just turn, and it did. And before you know it, um, you know, I think that was August of 2018. Um, no, sorry, yeah, August of 2018 was when I started,
Hmm.
and I didn't close anything till that April and then that of 19 and then all of a sudden I ended that year with like 21 closes. I was just and that can be life changing, you
Sure.
know. All of a sudden we were able to get a home again and you know do all kinds of great things and yeah, just life just got really good again after that, and then started
Sounds like a
building a
great lesson in
team.
perseverance.
Yeah, again running. I'll teach you that stuff. Yeah. So, and
Love it.
now I remind myself that now because there's been times, you know, the markets have changed a lot, very fast. They changed way faster than what I was used to before.
Sure.
And, and yeah, we'll go through cold fronts, you know, as I call them or dry spells in real estate. And, you know, you just have to remember, hey, keep doing all the right things, keep putting one foot in front of the other, run the miles, and you know, you're going to have success. Right. So, um, yeah.
I love it. The idea of getting back into real estate, was there some trepidation knowing,
Absolutely.
what you went through before? Were you certain this is what you wanted to do again? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I after 2008, I was angry towards real estate as a whole.
Mm,
I was just like, you
sure.
know, real estate sucks. I'll never get back it, you know, this is why would people do this? All the in every way, at both brokering and as a investor, right? Because most of what why we lost is we just bought homes to flip in Baltimore,
Right.
and
Right.
um so I got back in as a broker, and that was a little easier because you're not taking as much risk. You know, you can't, you might not make anything, but at least you're not losing anything, right?
Hmm.
And whereas with investing, you can lose. And so got back in that way. I looked at it with a servant's attitude. You know, I was able to help people, and that ability to just looking at it that way is just the ability to help people really and to give to people really helped me be okay with that, right? And work through it. And then on the investing side, yeah, I got in slowly, mostly by uh I started having a lot of big investor clients and developers, and I
Right.
would just contribute my commissions back into their deals. So kind of like limited partner on some of their deals, and then started getting back into flipping. My first one, I really just did it because I knew I had to. I've actually done it a few times now. I still will once in a great while when I can't
Sure.
pass up a
Sure.
deal,
Sure.
but I realize I don't enjoy it as much anymore.
Mm,
It's just not something I'm getting as much joy out of.
got you.
But the first time I closed one, I went to closing and I was crying, not because of the check I got or anything like that. It was mostly because I knew I had gotten, I had overcome trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You knew the steps that you took to get there. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a check, but it represents so much more because
Hmm.
it was your everything, and you poured your everything into it. And in fact, the amount on the check probably made no difference to you. Maybe a little bit, but it was bigger. Big. It was more around what it meant, and I think that's
That's
what I'm
right.
hearing from you.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the check was definitely not it. It was a nice check, but it wasn't like life changing or anything like
Right.
that. It was
Yep.
more that helped me recover. And even in the brokerage side, at one point I had a huge team in Maryland and done well with that there too, and started to rebuild a team here. We never got really big here, but as a team, it was only a few of us, but um but it helped me do it the right way and develop like really good agents. They're some of the best agents here in our market now, and that made me really proud, you
Hmm.
know. And it also helped me check that box,
Sure.
because I also realized that that's not something I want to do. So a
Mm.
lot of it has just been reliving the things I had done before that I failed at, that told me I could do it well here, and it helped rebuild my confidence.
I love it.
But it wasn't really but now I realize I don't need to do that anymore.
I love it. I
You
love
know?
it. I love
Yeah.
it. You podcast as well, Luis. So talk about that. That's an interesting transition. It's not running. It's not real estate. It's not business. It's podcasting. What's it all about?
That's right. Yeah, it's none of that, but it's all of that, right? It's called the Wayfinder Show, and we help inspire people to, level up in some area of their life, whether it be business, family, relationships, spirituality, health, all of that. And we try to either bring in people like yourself to share their stories, because through stories we inspire,
Yes.
or subject matter experts just to learn about some of those areas, to so we can go and apply those lessons. And yeah, we're on twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday.
Fantastic.
We're at about 110 episodes now, and still going. And yeah,
Amazing.
it's a passion project. Just do it to I also use it selfishly to learn from others.
Yes.
I realize that's how I learn best, and
Yes.
so and it's a great way to do it, and you make a lot of great friends all over the world. So
I've said on many occasion that I feel like I'm robbing people by doing my own podcast because here I
yeah,
am doing it to give to others, but I'm getting all the benefits. Like I'm winning
right.
big time, right? So I hear you loud and clear on that. And no, it's fantastic. The Wayfinder podcast. Hey, listen, man, I'd be happy to join you as a guest if you'd love to. If you'd
Would
have me, it'd
love
be
to have you on.
fantastic. Yeah, but again, I appreciate the insights and thank you for sharing your story as well. I think I said off the top how important that can be for other people as they're going through their challenges. Because I will tell you, Louis, I know firsthand. When you're going through something as difficult and challenging, that's painful, whatever you want to call it. It's so easy to think that nobody on the planet has any idea what you're experiencing, and this is a problem only unique to you. And the truth of the matter is, there's very little that's new that's happened under the sun. Like it's someone's gone through it somewhere at some point, and maybe they can even tell you what they did that you can do exactly. Like there's ways around things, and that doesn't happen if we're not sharing those. So I appreciate you doing so. For listeners that want to connect with you, learn about more about you, or even check out your podcast, where can we send them?
Yeah, thank you. So the podcast is on wayfindershow.com. Every episode comes out also on YouTube, uh, Spotify, Apple, all the major
Yep.
platforms. Even though we're on YouTube, we don't release video yet. We do record video. We haven't. I need to hire a producer, or, editor or something for
Sure.
that. So it's just the audio for now. But yeah, go to wayfindershow.com. We have a newsletter there as well. We put out a newsletter every week with just some positive thoughts for people. We
Beautiful.
have these 4 questions called our Wayfinder 4, and every week I put 4 different answers to that on there that people can learn from. And other
Amazing.
than that, if you want to learn, talk real estate in any way, I'm happy to do that. You can go to my website. It's called pioneergrouprealty.com, and you can book a free 15-minute conversation. I'm happy to help with whatever your real estate questions are. I've kind of done it all.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, and I can refer you to somebody who can help you with what you're trying to do.
Amazing, amazing. Well, look, congratulations first and foremost on your journey. I
Thank
know
you.
it's far from done, but you've done some incredible things, and now that you're able to help others, is even more fantastic. So, congratulations on that. Thank you for being here on the Audacious Living podcast. I appreciate you taking the time, and all the best, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Audley. We'll see you on the Wayfinder show.
I'll be there.
All right.
We're back. We are here in the podcast. So much thanks and appreciation, Luis, for being here. His insightful words emphasize the importance of being intentional about being positive and showing gratitude while acknowledging the crucial role of community support in navigating life's challenges, and how running has been a catalyst for personal and professional growth. Certainly to connect with Luis directly and learn more about his journey or check out his podcast. He has insights that he also offers. All those details are in the contact details in the show notes below. I would encourage you to engage with him to discover how you can apply these principles to your own audacious life. It certainly sounds like Luis has a book in the making as well in the near future. I'd encourage you to keep an eye out for that also. As we conclude this episode, I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, or share to the Audacious Living Podcast. If you haven't already done so, promote it with your family and friends. That's the kind of support that helps us reach even more individuals and continue to inspire others to live their most audacious lives. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.